Welcome back to another video where I turn AI slop into real objects. This first trend is something I always found quite uncomfortable to watch, but I really want to discuss it because of how normalized it has become. These animal toast videos encapsulate some of the worst aspects of generative AI because of how this technology manages to turn something inherently grotesque into a harmless clip that bypasses all content filters. The second trend is a bit sillier and features bread-shaped cats getting kneaded like dough. I love how these don't make any sense because you'll never see a raw melon pan or a football-sized mochi, but it seems like a good example of how AI mistakes can end up creating some meme-worthy imagery. In my last video, I got surprisingly good results by painting on dry yogurt with watercolors. For this video, I want to increase the difficulty level and make everything using edible ingredients. I also want to keep food wastage to a minimum and see if I can turn all the leftovers from this DIY into a real loaf of bread. I'm going to try out this set of powdered food coloring and edible markers. I chose powdered pigment because I think it's easier to adjust the intensity of the colors with these. This brand has a great range of shades, although I think they created all of them by mixing different ratios of primary colors. So instead of a pure brown pigment, you can tell it's a very fine mixture of green and red. For the binding agent, I'm going to experiment with liquid glucose, rice syrup, and agar spray. I'm basically looking for any edible transparent material that is ideally slightly sticky so it can transport the pigment from the brush. Glucose syrup is extremely thick, as you can see here. I'm pretty sure this is the same thing you find inside those maltose stress balls. Rice syrup has the consistency of honey, but is almost colorless, which is why I chose that. And lastly, this is a spray-on jelly that's designed for making fruit tarts look shiny. This texture is the most liquid out of all three, and it has a slightly pungent smell, which I'm not a big fan of. Now I'm going to mix a small amount of pigment into each one. Rice syrup blends very nicely and it doesn't feel overly sticky. The glucose syrup is actually a bit too thick and it dries up very quickly. The agar spray was surprisingly good because it makes the color thinner without the diluting effect of water. I started by making a new batch of dry yogurt using the same recipe from my last video. Now I'm going to sculpt this into a kitten shape. Dry yogurt is actually very easy and effective to work with. It tends to form natural cracks with sharp edges, which means I can easily create these thin triangles for the ears. I'm just sticking them on and smoothing everything out with the clay tool. The base layer of paint is brown mixed with yellow. I ended up using a combination of rice syrup and agar spray as the binding agent, with some of the yogurt for opacity. The painting process did take a very long time since I had to rework many areas. I really want this kitten to look as realistic as possible to mimic those original AI videos. But at the same time, I noticed that the grotesque, uncanny valley effect is simply not there when you see this as a real-life sculpture. Despite being quite detailed, it still looks like a cute piece of food art. It reminds me of those dry yogurt bowls with realistic seals. I'm starting to wonder if the uncanny valley feeling is partially due to a subconscious awareness of the twisted human minds behind those prompts. It's not the technology that's creepy, but the innate realization that there are people out there using this technology to generate disturbing content. I think this applies across so many fields of generative AI. It's the combination of greed, laziness, and glimpses into the darker parts of the human brain. But hey Joanna, aren't you about to squash a kitten on toast as well? I can hear many people say. Yes, but as I mentioned earlier, nothing about this video feels creepy. When an artist makes something, there's an interesting and relatable work process behind it. It's all about creating shapes, colors, textures, and emotions. The reason why AI feels soulless is because it's a lazy shortcut for people who never had the discipline to learn a craft, but still want to make money with visual content. In contrast, there are thousands of real creators out there who make hyper-realistic sculptures out of food, and you never feel revulsion when you look at their videos. Even when the yogurt gets pressed down, it still gives off the same vibes as cutting into a perfectly realistic cake. So now let's move on to making the mochi cat. The main problem here is that real mochi is very dense and is not going to stay in the perfect spherical shape. The vast majority of mochi desserts like daifuku or ice cream is only a thin layer of rice dough wrapped around something else. So I'm going to use that same principle here. I've recently started making sourdough bread, and the obvious solution is to use raw bread dough for the inside. This has the added advantage of being incredibly cheap to make. Here's my sourdough starter, which is basically a living yeast culture that I always have on my kitchen counter. I'm using a standard recipe of 100 grams active starter, 300 grams of water, 500 grams of flour, 10 grams of salt, and a bit of honey. This gets mixed into a fairly sticky dough, which is normal for this stage. I'm covering it up and letting it rest for an hour. After this, I'm going to start with stretch and folds, which is just pulling and folding the dough over. This process strengthens the gluten inside the flour and gives the dough more structure. I genuinely believe this is the perfect hobby for anyone who used to enjoy making slime. Just like with slime, the mixture gets less sticky with each set of stretch and folds and starts to pull away from the sides of the bowl. So if you used to watch my videos way back in the days, I strongly recommend giving sourdough a go. Now I'm going to cover it up and leave it to proof for a few hours. During this time, the dough is going to double in size, which is a fantastic bonus because I get a lot of extra volume without having to use more material. However, this is the stage where things get tricky because everything becomes very time sensitive. I want to make a huge batch of mochi, which needs to be done in the final hour of proofing. If the mochi becomes too cold, then it's not going to roll out properly, and if the sourdough becomes overproofed, then it's not going to work for bread. I've never made mochi in my life before, but I found a recipe which seems fairly foolproof. I'm starting with 200 milliliters of water in a non-stick pan and adding 160 grams of sugar on low heat. This is followed by a few tablespoons of oil to reduce stickiness. Then I'm just adding enough glutinous rice flour until everything clumps together. This part really reminds me of the cold porcelain and baking soda clay tutorials that I made during lockdown. Once the mochi comes together, I'm wrapping it in foil to keep it warm and then transporting everything to my office for the final filming. I'm going to cover the rolling pin with cling film, which is a trick many people recommend for mochi since it tends to be very sticky. This actually feels fine and I can roll it out flat quite easily. Now comes the sourdough, and this is almost doubled in size. I'm going to place this on the cutting board and wrap the mochi around it. Unfortunately, it's still too soft to stay in a ball, so I'm improvising with a small bowl and just sticking this inside to help maintain the shape. Now I'm sculpting 2 ears using leftover mochi and adding the facial features with edible markers. This part has to be done as fast as possible because the mochi is starting to crack. I'm picking out a perfect looking strawberry and sticking this into place with a toothpick. There's a reason why I'm drawing the eyes closed at first and then making them open, which I'll explain later on. So after this is done, I'm racing against the clock to film the final shot before the dough slides out of place and makes the mochi crack even more. The bottom edge is a little bit jagged, but on the whole, I'm really pleased with how this turned out. Part of the reason these AI bread cat clips look so hilarious is because their eyes open and close. I'm going to try the simplest method I can think of to replicate this. One of the rules I have for these AI videos is that I don't want to lean too far into animation or CGI because that defeats the purpose of creating a real-life object. This is the reason I drew the cat's eyes closed at first. I'm going to take a screenshot of the closed eye and edit this into the final scene using Photoshop. You can see that if I toggle between the layers, it looks like the cat is blinking. Then I'm cutting out the eye area and saving it as a PNG on a transparent background. This is literally a static image being placed over the video, which creates the illusion of movement. I did end up using a few keyframes just to make sure the eyelids match up with small movements in the video. But on the whole, this is still a very analog way of making blinking eyes, which doesn't require any animation or special effects. For the ASMR, I tried squeezing cushions or brushing plushies, but those barely made any recordable noise. Then I decided to add a pop filter over the mic and rub a sponge directly onto it. One thing I learned about these AI remakes is that the sound effects have to be synchronized perfectly with the movements in the video. Even if it's a fairly fuzzy ASMR like this one, I still need to have every visual movement match up with an audio change. This usually requires a bit of post-production editing, but I feel it turned out pretty well. And the very final step is to carefully separate the ingredients from each other. I'm not too worried about the mochi because I can easily cook this in any shape. However, the sourdough is a lot more delicate, and this is already taking quite a beating. The temperature and handling has gone all over the place because of filming, and I'm really nervous if this will actually bake. I managed to salvage all of the dough, and any remaining mochi pieces can stay inside as inclusions. Once I got home, I baked this as usual, and to my great surprise, it actually worked. It's not the best loaf of bread I've ever made, but I'm really happy I didn't have to waste this batch of dough. You can see and taste some of the mochi, which I have to say is not the greatest sourdough inclusion, but this is definitely edible. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe for more. I'm Joanna, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!